Hey guys, Steve Page here from Giant Partners, #1 digital marketing agency. Today we're going to go over part 5 of our 10-part series of how to grow your email list. Today's topic is email list engagement, email marketing strategies that will engage your list, get it to perform amazingly. You've spent a lot of time, if you watch videos 1 through 4, a lot of it is focused on why you should grow your email list, as well as tactics to actually get people to offer their email address or phone number or information to purchase. Now we're focusing on getting those people to do something. Once they're on your list, now what do you do with them? How do you get them engaged? What are those emails? What does the messaging look like? We're going to go through all of that. We're doing something a little different today. We actually have 2 speakers who will go over their tactics on all these email list engagement strategies. We are fortunate enough to have our president of digital strategy from Giant Partners. He's going to go over email data, design, deliverability, as well as a special guest from HubSpot, and McDonald, who is strategic customer success manager at HubSpot. She's going to go over email integrations, automations, and CRM. So without further ado, we're going to play clips of their presentations, and so you get some expert insights on what they do for their clients, big and small. Let's dive in.
Email data design and deliverability. Let's go ahead and jump in. All right. So the biggest thing that I want to emphasize when I talk about email data is that email data is so much more than an address. If you don't know this, email data can actually be used to match users across Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, streaming television, Twitter, and more. This is really, really powerful. Statistically, when you deploy an email to someone, if you're able to show that person a meta ad or a YouTube commercial or even a direct mail piece, that person is 4 times more likely to convert. This is a big deal. Omni-channel targeting of email addresses specifically is one of the absolute best ways to reduce conversion rates. We actually see as low as 1/10 of a penny impressions. I mean, absolutely unbelievable when you take an email address and you target it across channels. All right, so here's the pro tip. The kind of the thing that you need to know is that what each one of these platforms, again, Google, YouTube, Meta, Facebook, Instagram, what they're doing is they're matching lists based on 5 primary data fields: first name, last name, email, mobile, date of birth, zip. I think that was 6. So you upload that list into a platform, and typically, if you do it right and your data is accurate, you'll get between a 75 to 85% match rate. This is a huge deal. Again, this is a way to guarantee that those emails that you're sending are getting reinforced by another channel. All right. Next, it's really important that you guys understand that email data specifically, it can not only be directly targeted, but it can be uploaded into these platforms and then layered on top of interest groups. So for example, let's say you're selling a product, and for a customer to be eligible to purchase that product, they have to own a home. Well, there's no way to select homeowner within Google or within Meta, but you absolutely can upload a list of homeowners and then layer it on top of, for example, solar energy. And now you're only spending money to advertise to people that you know own a home. You can also add additional parameters by uploading email lists, things like income, net worth, credit, investor status, purchase history, response history, donation history, email lists, education, veteran, political, all these types of lists. You're not able to directly select within the advertising platforms, but if you upload a list and match users, you absolutely can. Here's the next pro tip. It's very, very important that you start off using native targeting options. What I specifically mean is you want to use in Meta, for example, if you want to target Ventura County, which is where we're located, you're going to use that geographic parameter Ventura County. And then if you only want to select people that are between 30 and 50, you go ahead and select people that are 30 and 50. And then you take all those other variables that I just discussed, you upload them into the platform, and now you are truly targeting every single person that meets your precise customer profile. Go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so here's a scenario. Email targeting comparison by the numbers. This is a hypothetical scenario. Okay, let's say we have a list of 100,000 emails and you target them with 3 email deployments. Well, Giant Partners would charge you $3,000 to do this. We have great customers of all shapes and sizes that do this. Well, typically, again, all industries are different. Let's just assume a 10% open rate. So you're going to get roughly 10,000 people are going to see your advertisement. And then of those, we'll call it a 5% response. You're going to get 500 responses. So 100,000 people get your email, 10,000 people open it, 500 of those click through your website. So to A/B test statistics, so that's going to be a cost per impression of about 30 cents and a cost per click of about $6. That's actually pretty high. Check out what happens when you take that same data and you target it on Meta. 100,000 emails targeted. You're going to spend approximately $100 per day to show ads to that group of people. On that list, you're going to show your ad to about 80,000 people. So just right off the bat, notice you are getting your message in front of those same people at a 8x level. The unique clicks number is about the same. So rather than getting 500 clicks, you're getting 4,000. And check out the cost per impression numbers. Now you're showing an ad to someone on Meta for 3 cents, and you are getting somebody to click through your website for 75 cents. So again, we're not saying one or the other. We're saying that when they reinforce each other, it works much better. Ideally, you would target customers across 3 channels. This is what we recommend. We almost always recommend starting with Meta and Google because they have the biggest universes, and one other. And so if you do that, you will get the most responses out of your marketing. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Steve. All right, let's talk about email design. So I personally have probably managed 10,000 email deployments over my career. And I'm just going to bullet point some of the high level things that I have learned from literally looking at tens of thousands of reports. So clean and concise email design is key. Right? You do not want to have a lot of information. My general rule is you want to have 2 to 3 sentences at the top. You want to have a link right there in the top of that first sentence. 400 characters or less. Compelling image. About half the people that get your email, they'll click on that image. And then you want to have a custom button. You never want to say submit. That's one of the oldest rules of the book. You want to have a custom button, and you want to make it very clear whether or not they they click the image, they click the button, or they click the text. They're all going to go to the same page. Mobile responsive code is vital, as the majority of emails are now read on smartphones. And so as you can see here on the right, you need to make sure that your images, they auto size, your text doesn't push the rest of your content too low, and specifically your button and your call to action are ideally above the fold before people scroll. All right, you want to keep your code as simple as possible. You want to test your user experience across devices and browsers, and you want to pay attention to auto formatting of images, buttons, and links. In email, it's always the more simple, the better. It is especially important. Here's a pro tip. It is especially important that you test your emails basically yourself on 3 devices. So you want to test with Apple Mail. So many emails are read with an Apple Mail, specifically on an iPhone. You want to test Outlook. A lot of business users use Outlook. And then you want to test on Gmail. If you test on those 3, your emails will almost always perform and look great across all platforms. All right. Very, very important. You want to have one call to action. One of the cardinal sins of email marketing is to have a whole bunch of email calls to actions scattered all over the place. You want to have one. You want to have one singular focus. Again, if they click text, if they click button, or they click image, it is very, very important that those all go to the same location. All right. Got a little background noise there. Sorry about that. All right. All right. Next, use personalization tokens. So personalization tokens, if you don't know what those are fields from your database that can auto-generate inside of the text. So for the most common ones are Jeremy, we would like to invite you to our upcoming event. Well, that name that's dynamically populating there, that is called a personalization token. It works really well if you said, Jeremy, we're reaching out to you because you're the president of digital marketing in the state of California. The more personalization tokens you can put inside of your emails, the better they'll perform. Pro tip here, you can actually use them in subject lines. You can use them in preview text. You can use them in body copy. And this is all going to help you increase open rates, because what it's actually doing is it's tricking the email service providers that you're sending personal emails to every single person. All right. You always want to A/B test everything. 50% of emails are opened based on subject line alone. This is a big deal. So you really want to test your subject lines. You want to keep those subject lines very short. Usually only the first 3 to 4 words appear in previews. Believe it or not, emojis work really well. And then what you can do within most platforms is you can actually say, send to 10% of my list, and the winning subject line will automatically get the rest of the emails. All right. Make sure that you send both company and personal style emails. So what I mean is, so for example, at Giant Partners, sometimes we'll send emails from Giant Partners. There's a big Giant Partners logo at the top. The from name says Giant Partners. But then in other instances, we'll actually send a message from Erica. We'll send emails from Erica Borelli. And what happens is if you want to send multiple communications per month, if you want to perpetually and consistently engage people, you want to do a consistent flow of business communications and personal communications. All right. Last pro tip here. Mix up the genders in which you are sending emails from. So you want to send from sometimes from males, sometimes from females, and depending on your industry, you want to pay attention to how exotic the names are. Historically, for whatever reason, Erica will perform better than Eric. And if I had some weird spelling of Jeremy, that like Jamiroquai, from like the singer, well, that would be a strange name. And so just keep those things in mind. All those little details before people even open that email are paramount. All right, now let's talk about email deliverability. So now we're going to nerd out here for a slide. So getting emails into inboxes is actually really difficult. The larger your list is, the more diverse the sources of your email data, the more you really have to concentrate on all of these different technical parameters. If you've never sent out cold email before, it's actually quite difficult. And that is emails that have, maybe they purchased something from you or they subscribed a long time ago, but they haven't been engaged recently. You're going to want to follow these rules. So the first thing is you're going to want to deploy email campaigns on a steady frequency to establish your reputation with email service providers. So what I like to do is Thursdays, a big blast, and then Tuesdays, a resend from an individual. You want to keep your deployments in batches if you can. So for example, if you have 500,000 people on a list, well, you might want to do that in 50,000 chunks, and you might want to send it in 10 different ways. You always want to send from a really healthy IP address and email sending domain to ensure that your messages don't go into junk or spam. There are tools to be able to tell, but what happens is if you get a lot of spam complaints, if you get a lot of hard bounces, those email service providers will then recognize all the emails that you send as being spam, and that'll cause you huge problems. If you have a big list that you have not personally engaged in a while, I would absolutely recommend hiring a third-party agency like Giant Partners to deploy those off of a shared server. Once those emails have been opened and clicked, then you can safely import them back into your CRM and begin to send. All right. Subscription management really matters. In the spirit of this being a webinar for pros, you absolutely need to be able to make it really, really easy for people to unsubscribe. Believe it or not, unsubscribes are not a bad thing. Unsubscribes, while it's annoying for us to click through, it's really important that you make it as easy as possible, because just because somebody unsubscribes from you, that might not mean they don't want your communications. That just means that they don't want to get your information through email. That being said, if you don't have those unsubscribe links in place, you're actually in violation of the law. The only law that applies to email is that you have to have your mailing address, your contact information right there. All right. Last slide on email deliverability. You want to make sure that you scan your emails for all spam words. There actually is a resource on the HubSpot blog. It's absolutely amazing. I've been looking at it for 20 years. There's a link here. When you get the slides, make sure you reference it. You want to scan that, because that list is being perpetually updated. The biggest things is you want to avoid special characters like $signs and exclamation points. You don't ever want to use the word free, sale, buy, order, click in your subject lines. Those will absolutely crush your performance. The pro tip here is email marketers must remove 100% of spam words from subject lines. If you don't do that, your messages are going to find their way into spam traps. This is going to be really bad. All right. Make sure you send from a shield domain. So you've probably noticed when you get big email messages, it's usually on a shield domain or a subdomain. So maybe it's emails.giantpartners.com. The reason why that you want to do this is if you ever get caught by an email service like Barracuda, it can actually shut down your whole company's email. This has happened to me once in my career. It was absolutely insane. 100-person company, and nobody could send email for about 24 hours. So you want to make sure that you have somebody properly set this up. If you're sending bulk email blasts, can you go back real quick, Steve? Thank you. If you're sending bulk email blasts, you absolutely need to have a shield domain. So I just want to say that out loud. If you're sending big bulk email blasts, do not put your company at risk. All right, ChatGPT. So when we were putting these slides together, some people said, Jeremy, you have to talk about ChatGPT. So obviously this came out probably 4, 5, 6 months ago, and it's absolutely taken the world by storm. The days of having to write copy for emails are pretty much over. I would strongly recommend, if you haven't played with ChatGPT yet, start doing it. Here's the top 3 ways that you can start using AI to generate content. The first one is create email subject line variations. Oh my gosh, works so good. Give me the top 3 email lines for BMW home road event. Create email messages with character count limitations. So you can say, compose 320 character or less email message for free hearing aid test promotional offer. Number 3 is create email sequences, outlines, and copies. Compose a 7-part email marketing sequence to grow your customer relationship after downloading a free blank resource. Here's the pro tip. Make sure you include email campaign goals. You can say things like for highest open rates, for highest click-through rates, for highest conversion rates, right there in ChatGPT. Check this one out that I did. I don't know how big it is on your screen, but here's what I typed in. I said, compose under 400 character invitation to upcoming email marketing best practice webinar. This is amazing. That's literally all I put in. And it said, dear name, we would like to invite you to our upcoming webinar on email marketing best practices. Join us on date time as we delve into the latest strategies for optimizing your email marketing campaigns. In this session, we will cover everything from crafting compelling subject lines to boosting open and click-through rates. Our team of experts will also share their insights on personalization, segmentation, automation, providing practical tips that you can implement along the way. Don't miss out on this opportunity to improve your email marketing game. Register now to secure your spot and take your campaigns to the next level. Best regards. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable that AI can do this right on the first try.
Amazing stuff from Jeremy. Hopefully you learned something there. The next speaker is McDonald from HubSpot with some more amazing insights on email list engagement. So hang tight. We'll play that right now. And
Thanks so much, Steve. I'm looking forward to being here today and talking a little bit about the CRM integrations and automations to help you really maximize how you're utilizing the technology that you have within your own business. So let's start out first and foremost by talking about how you can empower your sales and your customer success teams. One of the number one tools that I use on a regular basis, and really my top recommendation to folks as soon as they start to get into the platform, is make sure you are leveraging the Google or Office 365 integration that you have access to with your CRM platform. One of the biggest barriers that I have seen, and I myself have experienced, is we all like to live in our inbox. We're comfortable there. Even if it's a mess, in my case, it's a mess that I understand. It's a space that I like to occupy. And so a barrier or an area of resistance for a lot of reps is being told that they're going to have to move into a new system to be able to have access to all of these functions. When in fact, through these integrations, you actually have the opportunity to really enrich the space in which you're already working, your inbox essentially, right? So with these integrations, you can pull in some of the assets and resources that are inherently available to you within your CRM, such as your email templates that we'll talk about in a little bit later through HubSpot. You can better create your contacts so that you're automatically creating contacts when you're emailing with a new contact. You can connect your calendar so that instead of that back and forth of, hey, when can you meet? I can meet at 2. I can't meet at 2. I can meet at 3. Let's go back and forth on this for like 24 hours before we find a time to meet, right? We've all had that. Now you can set up your calendar so that you've got direct access to it, pulling in that availability so that you can quickly and easily send out meeting links to the folks that you're working with. I think the best part of this too is, even though we may like working within our inbox, we also know it's not the best space to refer back to when we need key information. So you're pushing all of this communication that you're having back into the CRM, back into the company and contact records, which is going to give you easier access to it when you need it, allow you to do things like report on it and understand the impact of the work that you're doing on a regular basis to better know what works and better knows what you might want to change down the road. The other piece that I love to leverage early on is standardization of email signatures. We want consistent branding. We want consistent language. I think we've all had an experience in the past where we have perhaps received an email from someone who's taken some liberties in terms of the inclusion of perhaps an emoji or perhaps a personal quote within their signature. And while that can be great, that's not necessarily the message that every business wants to convey in terms of the consistency and the representation of brand in terms of what they're sending out. I remember working at companies where every quarter or so we would get an email from our admin or the person in charge of marketing saying, hey guys, we need to all update our email signatures, go in, change it to this font, this color scheme, this language in there. And inevitably, a few folks wouldn't do it at all. 5 people would do it wrong. And you'd have to go back and forth over that again and again. Within HubSpot, for example, you can go in and create a consistent signature, not only for everyone in your company, but even customize it by team. So if you want your sales reps to have a different signature than your success reps, for example, or if at a certain time of year you want to go in and add some language about office closures for the holidays, you no longer need to request that everyone take that access individually within their accounts. You can do it for them and assure that there's consistency across the board. You can even go in and view what the CRM looks like from the end user's experience based on their particular set of permissions, just to make sure that everything is appearing as it should. The next tip that I have is email templates. Take advantage of your email templates and lean into the beauty of personalization tokens. One of my favorite tools that I discovered fresh out of college was the mail merge. And I felt like the most powerful person in the world with the mail merge. You couldn't stop me. I had an Excel file, I had a Word document. I was just the most efficient person with this. I could send out emails with personalized information one after the other. Well, the days of the mail merge are gone. Luckily, I don't have to rely on pulling these Excel sheets to be able to send out the information any longer. But when I want to be sending the same message to a large group of people, one after the other, and want it to still have a level of personalization and consistency, what I can do is create a template within my CRM and add to it personalization tokens, which is essentially data that we are pulling in directly from their contact property within the CRM, right? So instead of having to type in the name of the person to whom I'm sending the email, I just pull in the personalization token, and based on the email address to whom I'm sending this email, the system knows to add in their first name. If I add a personalization token, such as a company, it will pull in the company that they're associated with. Any personal data that relates back to information that I've already collected and gathered, I can use that to empower and enrich that one-to-one contact that I have. This can be really powerful also in terms of creating consistency in messaging across your sales teams who are going to be having that type of one-to-one communication, so that you can build templates that are going to be used by everyone across the board and ensure that the way in which that's being used, the structure for that is going to have some level of consistency and be well formatted by everyone. One other tip that I have in HubSpot in particular is using snippets. Snippets are kind of like templates light, whereas a template is a full email, subject line, to address, body of email, and signature. Your snippets are going to be little pieces of content that you find yourself using again and again. Think about situations like explaining what your company does or your particular approach to pricing. Do you have to go back into your website and copy that information? Do you find that you're having to coach your reps and make sure that they're covering certain things within every single sales meeting so that you can make sure that you have good, consistent notes from all of your reps across the board? A snippet is something that you can create using a hashtag that will store a preset message that you can then insert into an email or into the body of a note. So like a call note in terms of that format for your rep calls or your sales calls. Or again, within the body of an email, if you're sending something like how we approach our pricing. Another key benefit that I want to encourage you to think about using is really leveraging your ability to notify reps and even managers or other folks within the business in real time when leads are ready for follow-up and when conversions occur. So one really key piece of information is that according to, for example, a study from the Harvard Business Review, when analyzing 15,000 unique leads with 100,000 call attempts, you decreased your odds of qualifying a lead by 400% when your response time goes from 5 to 10 minutes. I remember, for example, when I was planning my wedding, I reached out to 10 or 12 vendors at a time. If it took a vendor too long to get back to me, it was the folks who responded to me first that I was most likely going to be working with. I think we all have examples of that. So you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of your ability to create automation to connect your recently converted leads to a sales rep and ensure that your sales reps are aware of who those folks are as quickly as possible. So with automation, you can set up automatic assignments of leads to reps. It can be by location, so specific parameters, or you can set up a round robin rotation. You can also send a notification to your reps through their personal email. A lead converts, you're going to send an email directly to them saying you have a new lead assigned to you. And going back to those personalization tokens that we talked about earlier, you can even pull in specific details about that lead so that that rep has the information that they need right away. They don't even have to log back into the CRM to see who their person was or learn more about them. You can surface the most critical information so that they can start to follow up just like that. You can also personalize the way in which they're hearing about this. So if you have someone who prefers to get an in-app notification, you've got the ability to set up those customizations so that it's a pop-up for them rather than being something that goes into their inbox if that's the way that they prefer to receive it. So make sure that you're touching base with your reps to better learn about how they like to receive information. On that same note, I would encourage folks to think about empowering their reps to track email activity with live activity feed. This is another way in which utilizing a CRM alongside the inbox in which they're working is going to ungate a whole new level of power for them. And it's often something that reps aren't necessarily aware of. Admittedly, this is something that I didn't necessarily start to take advantage of despite having access to a CRM for many years. So when you have your CRM connected to your inbox, for example, you can see things like open and click rates. If you're using HubSpot's document tools, for example, if you're sending someone your product catalog or your pricing catalog, you can actually see when they open it. You can see how many times they open it. With certain video integrations, you can see not only if someone's watched the video, but the length of time that they've watched the video for. And that's going to tell you for whom you're top of mind. It can be such a guessing game in terms of figuring out with whom we should be following up and when, how to prioritize, what the strategy is there. And closing deals, getting in touch with prospects is so, so key right now. This is going to be a really effective tool for your reps to help them better build out their strategy by following up primarily, first and foremost, with the folks for whom they know they're top of mind. All right. So moving on into talking a little bit about how we can leverage some of these same tools for our marketing and things to think about. A major tip that I have and that I often have conversations with folks about is you want to think about the regularity of your email marketing communications to your database of subscribers. This is not only going to be important in terms of things like increasing campaign awareness and driving reorders, but this can actually have a really big impact on your deliverability. And that's actually something that a lot of folks aren't aware of. If you don't have consistency in terms of your email marketing practices, it can actually impact your ability to get in the right inbox that you're looking to get into, or impact whether or not someone sees your message at all. So there really is an importance of having a key strategy of regular communications in terms of your email marketing practices. But what you're sending is also really important. So look at topics like thought leadership. This is an area that HubSpot really leaned into early on. HubSpot focused on providing people with learning opportunities, free resources, helping them enrich themselves in areas that had a relationship to the function that HubSpot served, but was not necessarily promoting the product specifically. Looking too, on that same vein, webinars and free signups, offering folks the opportunity to enrich themselves, enhance their learning and understanding for free without necessarily pushing the end product initially or the end service initially. Looking at your promotions and creating that sense of urgency in terms of that limited time offer. I know if I know I'm only going to have availability for something for a limited time, it tends to create that urgency in me so that I want to take advantage of that more because I know it's not going to be accessible to me down the road. On average, we find that you need 7 points of communication to be able to drive a conversion. And we actually recommend sending 4 pieces of just helpful content before emailing an offer. Building that trust in your brand is going to really have an impact in terms of how much someone's actually going to take your recommendation at face value. Looking at that, as you're thinking more holistically about your email marketing strategy, think about also segmenting and tailoring communications to customers, opportunities, and prospects with dynamic lists. This is a underused tip or tool that I see that for the folks who do leverage this, they tend to see much better outcomes in terms of their email strategy overall. When they're thinking about the content that they're sending and really tailoring it to people based on what they know their needs and values are, there is an understanding that they are providing value to the end recipient, and they're going to see that reflected in their open rates, in their click-through rates, in the overall success of their email marketing strategy. So when we talk about things like dynamic lists, what we mean is you can use the information in your database to add someone to a list or remove someone from a list based on the changes in properties in their record on a regular basis. A great example of this is someone moving from being an opportunity to becoming a customer. I don't want to be sending my customers the same messaging that I'm sending to my opportunities. My objectives are totally different when someone is a customer. So I want to make sure that they're dynamically removed from that opportunity list that's sending out communication specified for opportunities, and instead adding them to that customer list so that that message is really personalized and tailored for them. They understand why they're getting it, and they trust the reasons why I'm sending them a message. Also, think about doing things like playing around with when you're sending something from the company versus sending something from an individual at the company. If you go into your inbox now and you look at emails that you've gotten from a few brands that you get emails from on a regular basis, you may notice a pivoting from when you're receiving something on behalf of the company or the brand versus when they may have selected to send you something from their CEO. Be intentional in terms of when you're choosing those opportunities. Think about the messaging that may drive the value in having it be perceived, I should say, as a personalized message coming from someone at the company versus from the company as a whole. And then also think about sending messages from your company email sending domain in order to ensure maximum deliverability and engagement. There are so many times when I will talk to someone who says to me, I'm having real issues. All of my emails seem to be going into spam. I don't understand what's going on. They may have been using HubSpot for 6 months, a year, even 2 years. And I'll ask them to show me their email setup. And I can see they didn't actually ever take the step to connect their email sending domain. And this can be a commonly missed step if this isn't something that you're aware of. Connecting your email sending domain, depending on the email sending platform that you're using, can be really impactful in terms of the way in which the message is sent. So for example, at HubSpot, if you don't connect your email sending domain, when you send out marketing emails, those marketing emails will be sent by HubSpot on behalf of your company. Not only is that a strange experience for the end recipient, but it also tends to get blocked in email providers. So it will go into spam as opposed to getting into the inbox. This can be a really low-hanging fruit of something that you check if you've been having concerns in general in terms of your deliverability, just to make sure that you've set that up properly based on your particular email sending provider. Additionally, make sure that you have a strong opt-in permission set in place. What I mean by this is make sure that you have consent from the contacts that you're emailing or some sort of a relationship with those contacts that would meet the necessary requirements. If you were ever to be questioned about why you were sending a marketing email to someone or be perceived to be in violation of CAN-SPAM law. So have a clear strategy and understanding of how you store that information within your CRM, what qualifies for that, and again, how you're utilizing that information to best segment the information that you're sending out to your prospects. When you're working on your email marketing strategy as a whole, something that I have seen some larger brands run into before is getting a message together, getting it going, and thinking, we want to be the first email in someone's inbox. We want to be in the inbox at 6 a.m. We want to be the first email that this prospect receives, right? And they're missing an opportunity to schedule email campaigns in batches, as well as missing an opportunity to throttle lead volume for effective follow-up. So what happens is they send out this email. It is the first email maybe someone receives that day, but I get that email and I say, hey, this is amazing. I respond to it right away and I say, I want to talk about this. I want to take advantage of this. 3, 4, 5 hours go by before there's going to be a rep in the office who can actually respond to me, get in touch with me, talk to me more about this. We talked about the difference that just 5 minutes can make in terms of outcomes around follow-up. So imagine what that means when hours are going by, because the way in which you scheduled your marketing emails didn't actually take into effect the working hours of your teams in order for them to be able to effectively respond. Similarly, thinking about when you're sending your messages so that it's going to be optimized for when folks are actually checking those emails. Is it a personal email? Is it a work email? What address is it going to be going into? And therefore, where and when might someone be checking for that? And then finally, this can be a really commonly missed error and a great opportunity for you to think about what you're driving folks to do when they open your email. What's that call to action? And what could be that downstream impact if that call to action is very successful? So if you're sending out an offer, for example, 50% off this particular product, everyone's super excited. They go to the website to take advantage of this offer. Website crashes. You have a lot of really frustrated customers. We've heard about situations like this happening before. We hear about it on social media. It's one of the first things that people will post about. So you want to think about the degree or the size of the list that you're sending these offers out to, so that you're controlling that volume of follow-up so as not to create that situation of crash. If you haven't taken advantage of A/B testing within your email sending before, this is one that I would really suggest that you think about. A/B testing is probably one of the most underutilized tools that I actually see within the marketing email tools in HubSpot. I think people are just not quite sure how they can play around with it. But one of the beautiful features of A/B testing within HubSpot is that once you determine what it is that you want to test, and you always want to be really focused in terms of what you're testing, right? You want to be sure that the detail that you're testing is actually what made the difference. So if you try to test both subject line and, let's say, imagery in the same email, you can't be sure which one it was that made the difference in terms of the higher click-through rate. So once you've determined which specific detail it's going to be that you test in that email, you can set up your A/B testing in such a way that once HubSpot identifies the winner from your A/B test, every contact thereafter will be receiving that winning email. So it will automatically drive that sending for you once determining the outcome of that A/B testing. We know that concise emails are the best, right? But if you're not already checking what your email looks like within, for example, a cell phone, looking at it from a mobile view as opposed to a desktop view, your email sending provider should give you the ability to test your email designs in those spaces. Look at what's above the fold versus below the fold. I had a client that I was working with who was seeing a really poor conversion rate on a CTA that they had in their email, and it presented a great offer. Well, when he looked at it, it was because the call to action was at the very, very bottom of the email. People weren't scrolling down to it. Once they moved that CTA up, they saw a huge increase in terms of the volume of folks who were actually taking advantage of that offer, and a lot more success in terms of the outcome of the email itself. We've also seen the emails with video thumbnails tend to have a greater success rate overall as well. So these are things that you can start to incorporate in, run a formal A/B test through, and get an understanding of what's actually having an impact and use that email going forward. Another new tool that you can use at HubSpot is actually creating a sample list. So if you don't have enough of a size of contacts to be able to do a formal A/B test, which is usually going to be thousands of contacts, you can pull a sample list from any list, randomized sample, and start to test things out in that capacity too. So you might even be able to run your own informal testing without necessarily running a full A/B test. All right, and the final thing, pulling all of this together, is looking at the ways that we can automate our sales funnels. So one of the most powerful aspects of your CRM is going to be its functionality in terms of its automation. You have all of this data, you have all of these assets, you have all of this content. How can you get things to drive automatically for you, right? How can you take the guesswork and the admin work out of that for your team? One of the recommendations that I have for folks who are particularly in the e-commerce space is think about the ways in which you can set up e-commerce automations to maximize your conversions by ensuring that every visitor is engaged with limited time, tailored promo codes for themselves. Take advantage of the automations that you can build in either through your email sending platform or through the integrations that you have set up with it. I have received many abandoned cart emails where all it took was that one extra push. And it was like, yeah, you're right. I really do want that bag. I'm actually going to come back for it now. It's just that one little last piece of persuasion. It was super impactful. They were right. I did want to come back to my cart. Sending out those promotion reminders. This is something that I, for example, tend to open. If I know that I like a brand and I have a relationship with them and you're sending me a promo, you're delivering me value. Taking advantage of what you know about someone's purchase history to send them those promotions. Building that relationship with your customers once they do purchase. How are you welcoming them into the brand? How are you building that trust and making them feel like they're a part of the brand family? We know that increasingly this is something that's really important now to younger generations in terms of that sense of trust with brands. How can you build that trust so that they want to continue to work with you? After purchasing, thinking about ways that you can upsell, cross-sell, get additional purchase out of that. When someone purchases, they're usually going to have repurchasing top of mind in that moment. How can you take advantage of the knowledge that you have about what they bought to suggest additional offers? And then finally, thinking about the information that we have in terms of who hasn't purchased in a while, right? And sending out those reminders to say, hey, based on the data that we have in our CRM, that's not what you're saying, but that's what's driving their automation into the email. We want to check in with you and maybe present a couple of options that we think that you might like. So leveraging all of this data to really provide that special touch in terms of the outreach and follow-up that you have from an e-commerce perspective. Something that I will just highlight too is that 90% of promotion redemption actually happens on the last day of a sale. So if your promotion outreach and automation does not include driving that sense of urgency on the last day right now, would definitely recommend incorporating that as a means of trying to see what additional action and activity you can elicit as a result of this information. Immediate lead follow-up with next step instructions. This is a big one. So this takes us back to one of the tips that we were looking at earlier, right? That 5 to 10 minute differentiation in terms of the impact of likelihood of someone to convert based on the time that it took to follow up. When someone converts on your website in any capacity, you want to make sure that you are following up with them with next steps right away. Don't make them wait for someone to reach out to you when you can just build that automatically into the automation. Send them an automated follow-up with a link to a calendar. Send them to a landing page as well that has that information so that they can set up that demo. They can set up that time with your sales team right away. They don't have to wait for someone to get in touch with them. Make sure that as you are setting up those opportunities for folks to connect with your team, that you're also building in those really important reminders of when that meeting is going to be happening, the follow-up reminders as you get closer to day of, adding or the option to add that to their calendar directly, and making sure that they have access to all of the login information. You want to eliminate any and all barriers to entry that you can to getting back into that meeting with you, and using your automation is going to be really powerful in doing that. And then my final tip here is think about your event reminder strategy to maximize your day of participation. So for folks who have a lot of Zoom or video conference events, what type of follow-up are you sending today? Is it, you send a follow or an email confirmation when someone signs up, and then maybe send another reminder like a week before? Think about how you might drive a higher level of participation by increasing that follow-up, particularly closer to the day of the event or on the day of event itself. So we've seen event participation doubles when registrants receive multiple forms of reminders leading up to an online event. Take advantage of things like automation and integrations that can set up text message reminders to folks in addition to those email reminders. Try to connect with people in the platforms that they're most likely to be using when they're on the go to remind them about the opportunity to participate. And then again, make sure that barriers to entry to participate are eliminated by providing them with some consistency, the access to the information that they need to get into the event. I hope you found these tips helpful. I hope that you're able to start to utilize some of these within your daily practices. And for those of you who have been using some of them already, I hope that they've been able to provide you with some success.
Wasn't that awesome, guys? Thank you so much, Jeremy and Anne, for your time. Hope everyone listening and watching has learned something. A lot of great nuggets, insights. Be sure to take notes, rewatch it back and forth. And also, this is part 5. Go back and listen to part 1 through 4 as well to help you grow your actual list, so you can use part 5 to engage them and make your list work for you, grow your business, turn them into customers, turn them into purchasers. That wraps up for part 5. So part 6 coming up is email list, social media boost, how you can use social media to boost your email list. We'll go into how you can do that on the next video. So be sure to subscribe so you get notified when that video comes out, and be sure to like and comment and share these videos so other people who will find this helpful. And we'll see you next time.